100 Club. You know, we keep talking about what's happening overseas because it's very important. Our foreign policy is vital to the security of the United States. The Islamic radicals from what is called ISIS or ISIL have unleashed a brutal wave of suicide attacks in Iraq. And critics are asking, does the Obama administration know what it's doing? Does it have a strategy to actually defeat ISIS?
That's the million-dollar question. And so far, ISIS has taken over key cities in both Iraq and Syria, while the White House is still trying to come up with a way to stop the deadly terrorists. Gary Lane has the story.
Iraqi Prime Minister al-Abadi is confident Iraqi troops can liberate the strategic city of Ramadi from the Islamic State.
Can assure you we can bring it back soon. I'm talking about days now.
But a number of U.S. officials and strategists are questioning Iraq's will and the Obama administration's commitment to defeat ISIS. As they did in Mosul last summer, Iraqi troops fled Ramadi when Islamic State fighters overran the city. That led to harsh criticism from U.S. Defense Secretary Ashton Carter.
The Iraqi forces just showed no will to fight. They were not outnumbered. In fact, they vastly outnumbered the opposing force, and yet they failed to fight.
But many analysts are asking who really lacks the will to confront ISIS, the Iraq Army or the Obama administration? The head of Iran's elite Quds Force of the Revolutionary Guard, General Qasem Soleimani, put the blame on the United States, suggesting that the U.S. formed a coalition and hasn't done a thing to defeat ISIS. He said America doesn't have the will to confront them. And now a growing number of military strategists, both inside and outside the Pentagon, are questioning the president's approach of fighting ISIS with only limited U.S. airstrikes. According to the Washington Times, one Defense Department counterterrorism official asked, "What strategy? We are now floating along, reacting to ISIS." Others question the administration's rules of engagement for the airstrikes. One former Pentagon official told the Times that combat pilots can linger over targets for hours before approval comes to strike. And there's reportedly growing concern about the U.S. not getting advanced weapons to the Kurdish Peshmerga fighters. It's one Iraqi force willing to fight with proven success on the battlefield. But critics say the U.S. isn't doing enough to support them. And even though ISIS has made numerous gains in recent weeks, not only in Iraq, but also in Syria, the White House still claims its policy against ISIS is working. And the Iraqi government's wide-scale operation to defeat ISIS in Ramadi was well received at the White House.
I think that is a clear indication of the will of the Iraqi security forces to fight. And the United States and our coalition partners will stand with them as they do so.
But how firmly they stand and whether it will be enough to defeat ISIS in Iraq and Syria will be apparent in the days and weeks ahead. Gary Lane, CBN News.
You know, it's a shame. We temporized in relation to Syria. Syria was blowing apart, and we wouldn't move. The president said, I'm going to make a red line. If they use chemical weapons, this is the red line. Well, they used chemical weapons, and he did absolutely nothing, which says the rest of the nations of the earth said, well, his word means nothing. And unfortunately, you have to have a clear word if you're going to win. You have to talk about victory. Douglas MacArthur said it so well, in war, there's no substitute for victory. You're either going to win the thing or not, but you can't temporize. And so limited airstrikes, a few bombs here and there are not doing it. But a fully armed combat division of special forces people with all the weaponry they need, plus air support, we could take ISIS and drive them into the ocean. But we're not doing it, and it kind of makes you upset.